Hi everyone, Miss Crystal here with LP Design and Crystal's Originals. And earlier this week, I shared with you a self-portrait I did of myself as a child. This was years ago. I've learned a lot since then. So I wanted to show it to you to refresh your memory. And I wanted to show you today how you can draw a proportionate face. So if you look at my face, it looks pretty good overall, but right here, the eyes are too far apart. And so I wanted to show you the basics of how to draw a face in proportion. So we're gonna come over here to the board. And one thing to think about when you're doing this is, first of all, what shape is a head? Overall, in general, most heads are an oval. So we're gonna start with an oval over here. It gets a little smaller as it goes to the bottom. Now, if you're chubbier, it may be wider, but this is just a general how to draw a face. Now, when artists draw a face, they look at proportions. So what we typically do is we draw a line down the center. If the face is looking to the side, of course, this line will vary, but we're gonna do more of a face, a head on. I need to round this out a little bit more. There we go. So we're gonna do a line here. I like to call these guidelines. If I wasn't using a dry erase board, of course it would be in pencil where it would be really light and I could erase it. And then I'm going to draw a line in the center here. Let me put that a little bit lower. You want it about halfway down from the very top to the very bottom. Okay, this is where your eyes are at, because when we're drawing the head, we're looking at the chin all the way to the top of the head. So it's not just here where the hairline is, it's up to here. So halfway down is our eye line, and then halfway down from our eye line to our nose, our chin, is our nose line. And then another halfway point, there's a lot of halves in this, halfway point down is our mouth line. So this is a general guide. If I had followed this, I may have had a little more accurate, especially the next part. So the next part is when we look at our face, if I measure my eye, they're the same width from corner to corner, but it's also the same width in the middle. If I had followed that rule of thumb here, because let's measure this. It's about 1.5 times as much as wide. So that would have made the difference in my picture. So I want to look at this. I have about that wide of an eye. And if I have that same amount of space in between, I can figure out how wide to make my eyes and the space in between. That would have made a huge difference in that painting. Then with the eyes, most eyes are kind of almond shape. You can adjust it a little bit. Now, if you want to draw an accurate picture, most of the time your eyes are going to be a key component for that. So I'm going to come in here. A lot of eyes come up and then curve down. And this part actually curves a little in and down first. We're going to do the same thing here. I tell kids it's kind of like a football or lemon, similar. So especially for younger kids, they kind of get the idea of the shape of that. And then for our eyes, we're gonna erase the center line here. Now our eyeballs actually sit in a socket and it's much larger. So I like to do the pupil, I like to do the side parts here. So you can't see all of your eye unless you have really big eyes. You can also draw that too, but this is just a basic rendition of a face. Then for the nose, a lot of people like to draw every detail, and a lot of kids, when you see them draw the nose, they show big old nostrils. That only works if you're looking like this up at the nose. So a lot of artists will start with a curved line. Some artists will just leave the curved line. I tend to add a little bit more. I like to add the nostrils. For younger kids, this is the hardest thing. I like to tell them, okay, draw a valley. Okay, now draw about half the size of a valley, little hills, and then I do a backward C and a forward C. Now, realistically, a lot of kids will also draw, or people will draw a triangle nose. That is basically the shape, but it doesn't come to a point here. So what I want to do is, if I want to be more detailed, I'm going to show up to the eyebrows. So this is going to curve in here. It's going to go up and up. See how that line connects and up to the eyebrows. So I can do that on both sides. And then of course I want to make my eyebrows, unless you have super bushy eyebrows, I tend to do them thicker towards the center of the nose and then thinner. Everyone's eyebrows are a little bit different, but this is a general rule of thumb. Another thing I like to do, if it's a guy picture, I may just darken the eyelid a little bit, but for girls, I like to make it really dark. It may erase my line a little bit, so I'm going to just come in here. We're going to make it thicker and kind of curve it there. So some people will do an eye, and they like to show all the details of the eyelashes. Sometimes that's a success, and other times it looks like spider legs hanging off of the eye if they go too crazy and wild. Oh my goodness, so scary. Oh my goodness. So I suggest you just do a darker line, because if you look at my eyelashes right now, you're not seeing individual unless I go really close, but you're looking at more the thickness of line that you're gonna see. So if I was doing a guy, I might just do a little darker. It's a little harder with the dry erase board, but you get the idea. For a mouth, this line is the center. And so I will come, and the distance typically for the outside of the lip here is actually the center of the eye. Do you see that? Now some people have smaller lips, but typically it's right here to the center. So if I draw that down, every time I draw this, kids are like, it looks like it's crying. It's true, it does. So I'm gonna draw that down here. And I'm gonna do a slight little curve. When you smile, you actually don't have it like a, it doesn't look like that. You wanna just have a nice little curve. And different lips look different. Some have more triangle-y, some have more volume, but in general, right under this part of the nose, I do this, just kind of like a V shape, and then curve. And then for the bottom lip, it actually, if you look really close, it doesn't go as far as the top lip. So I bring it in just a little bit and curve it. Okay. If you want to show a smile, you could add, you don't want to make it too dark or they look old, but with the marker, it's really hard to kind of get it every time. Let's try that. For the chin, keep it simple. Just kind of show this line right here. If you have a bigger chin, make it a bigger chin. And then for the ears typically start around the eye line. Do you see that? And they end between the bottom of the nose and the mouth. So if I come here, I'm more the mouth, but if you have a smaller ear, it tends to be right in this area. Now, if I'm looking at the front of a face, you're not gonna see as much of my ear. If you're looking at the side, you're gonna see a lot more. So I'm gonna make this a lot smaller. And I may even make it disappear a little bit more because you can't really see this bottom part of the ear as much. So if you look, yeah, it looks more like towards the top of my nose than my mouth. Okay, so the next thing that you want to look at is the hairline. So we went from the very top here of the head to down here to the chin. So I'm gonna come, now everyone's a little different, but I figure about halfway down is about my hairline. You may vary according to who you are. So I'm gonna come in here. And if I was a guy, I may spike it, and you can totally put hair above this part right here, because your hair is not just flat glued to your head, okay? So I might come in here if this was a dude, be like, what's up, man? Give yourself an ear. Come in here, draw some facial hair. So that could be a guy. If this side was a girl, I might show some lovely hair. Now my hair goes up like this, and then it comes on down, and it's so lovely. It really is. And then I'm gonna come on in here, I'm gonna draw my hair. It's gonna be so pretty. And of course, when I'm done, I can erase my guidelines, so I don't have these funky lines all throughout my picture. Remember, you're drawing them very light so they're easy to erase. You can cover the ear if you want to. And one more thing, if you're doing a neck, the neck connects to the ear here and goes down. But if you're looking straight on, it looks more like this point that the jawline curves, it connects. It's not a little tiny head like this. That's if it's a caricature. This is more a realistic picture. So we're gonna come in here, draw it down. And if you're, oops, and if you wonder about shoulders, you can always add shoulders. The rule of thumb is your head tilts, and see how your, let me get a little, there we go. I have small shoulders, so you'll have to look at your own, but around here, in this area is how far your head goes over to your shoulders if you just keep them. So it's almost to the top, it's almost as wide, but just a little shy. So that is how you can avoid, I think I drew on my head, not avoid drawing your head, but if you're doing a portrait and you're like, why does it look a little different? You can always do your measurements, and that will be very helpful. I've learned this and it is helpful. It's wonderful. I still think this is a pretty good painting for one of my very first paintings. And so I hope you enjoyed this art demo. This is Miss Crystal signing off. Have a great day. Bye.